Three girls, a night out, a plan for fun and laughter. But what started as an ordinary evening turned into a nightmare. They vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt an entire nation. What happened to them? Who took them? And why has this case remained unsolved for decades? Stick around because this is a story you won't forget. It was November 13, 1992, in the quiet Spanish town of Alcácer. The air was crisp and the streets were empty as the sun dipped below the horizon. Three teenage girls, Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree, were getting ready for a night out. They were young, full of life, and excited to go to a nightclub in Picassent, about 10 kilometers away, but they didn't have a car, and public transportation was scarce. So they made a decision that would change everything. They decided to hitchhike. Mariam, the youngest at 14, was the bubbly one, always laughing and cracking jokes. Antonia, 15, was the quiet, thoughtful one, while Desiree, also 15, was the adventurous spirit who loved trying new things. Together, they were inseparable, three friends who shared everything, from secrets to dreams of the future. That night, they left home around 8 p.m., telling their families they had be back by midnight. Little did anyone know, it would be the last time their families would see them alive. The girls walked to the CV 580 road, a quiet stretch of highway outside Alcácer. They stood under the dim glow of a street lamp, their laughter echoing in the stillness of the night. Witnesses later reported seeing them trying to flag down cars, their youthful energy undimmed by the cold. Around 10:30 p.m., a white car pulled over. The driver offered them a ride, and the girls climbed in, relieved to escape the chill. But who was driving the car? And where were they headed? No one knew. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. As the hours passed, the girls' families grew anxious. Midnight came and went, but there was no sign of Mariam, Antonia, or Desiree. By morning, the entire town was in a panic. The police were called, and a massive search began. Posters with their faces were plastered all over Alcácer and nearby towns. The community came together, hoping to find the girls safe and sound. But as the days turned into weeks, hope began to fade. Rumors started swirling. Some said the girls had run away, others whispered about foul play. But one thing was clear, something terrible happened. The question was, what? The disappearance of Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree sent shockwaves through Alcácer. The small town where everyone knew everyone was suddenly thrust into the national spotlight. The girls' families were desperate for answers, clinging to the hope that their daughters would be found alive. But as the days passed, that hope began to crumble. The police launched a massive search operation, combing through fields, forests, and the abandoned buildings. Volunteers from the community joined in, determined to bring the girls home. But despite their efforts, there was no trace of Miriam, Antonia, or Desiree. The white car they were last seen entering had vanished, leaving no clues behind. The investigation hit a dead end, and the families were left in agonizing limbo. As the weeks dragged on, the media descended on Alcácer, turning the case into a national sensation. Newspapers and TV stations ran daily updates, speculating about what might have happened to the girls. Some suggested they had run away, perhaps to start a new life. Others hinted at darker possibilities: abduction, trafficking, or worse. The uncertainty was unbearable for the families who just wanted their daughters back. Then, on January 27, 1993, 2 months after the girls disappeared, two men hunting rabbits in a remote area near La Romana stumbled upon a shallow grave. What they found inside would shock the nation. The bodies of Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree were discovered, badly decomposed but showing clear signs of torture and violence. The crime scene was horrific. The girls had been sexually assaulted, beaten, and shot. The brutality of the murders sent shockwaves through Spain. How could someone do something so evil? And who could have hated these innocent girls enough to kill them in such a cruel way? The discovery of the girls' bodies on January 27, 1993 marked a turning point in the case. What began as a desperate search for three missing teenagers now became a gruesome murder investigation. The bodies were found in a shallow grave near La Romana, about 50 kilometers from Alcàsser. The scene was horrifying, a stark contrast to the peaceful countryside that surrounded it. Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree had been subjected to unimaginable cruelty. Their bodies show signs of torture, sexual assault, and gunshot wounds. The details were so gruesome that even seasoned investigators were shaken. The girls had been stripped of their dignity, their lives cut short in the most brutal way imaginable. The nation was in shock. How could something so evil happen to three innocent girls? The crime scene was a chaotic mix of emotions: grief, anger, and disbelief. The families of the victims were devastated, their first fears confirmed. The media descended on the area, turning the tragedy into a spectacle. Photographs of the crime scene were splashed across newspapers, and the story dominated TV news broadcasts. The Alcácer murders had become a national obsession, but for the families, it was a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. As investigators began piecing together what happened, one question loomed large: who could have done this? The brutality of the crime suggested more than was just a random act of violence. It was personal, calculated, and deeply disturbing. The search for answers was just beginning, but the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and controversies. The investigation into the Alcácer murders was anything but straightforward. From the very beginning, it was plagued by mistakes, inconsistencies, and missed opportunities. The crime scene had been contaminated. Key evidence was mishandled and witnesses were not properly interviewed. It was as if the case was cursed, with every step forward met with two steps back. Despite these setbacks, two suspects emerged: Miguel Ricard and Antonio Angels. Ricard was a local man with a criminal record, while Angels was his friend and accomplice. Ricard was arrested and eventually confessed to being involved in the murders. He claimed that Angels was the mastermind and that they had picked up the girls in a white car, taken them to a farmhouse, and subjected them to hours of torture before killing them. But Rickard's story was full of holes. His timeline didn't add up, and his descriptions of the crime scene were inconsistent. Many believed he was downplaying his role in the murders, trying to shift the blame onto Angels. Meanwhile, Angels had disappeared. He was never found, and his absence left a gaping hole in the investigation. Was he the killer, or was he a scapegoat for a crime that involved more people than anyone realized? As the investigation dragged on, new theories began to emerge. Some believed the girls were victims of a snuff film ring, with rumors circulating about a videotape showing their torture and murder. Others thought the murders were part of a ritual or linked to organized crime. The case became a media sensation, with every detail scrutinized and debated. But for the families of Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree, there were no answer, only pain and heartbreak. The Alcàsser murders have spawned countless theories over the years, each more chilling than the last. Some believe the girls were killed as part of a snuff film ring, with rumors of a videotape showing their torture and murder. Others think the murders were part of a ritual or linked to organized crime. Then there are the conspiracy theories, which suggest that powerful individuals were involved and that the investigation was deliberately mishandled to cover up the truth. One of the most persistent theories involved the so-called Blue Duo, two men who were seen near the crime scene and were initially suspected. However, they were later cleared due to lack of evidence. Another theory suggests that girls were killed as a part of a ritual, with their murders serving some dark, symbolic purpose. And then there are those who believe the case is far more complex than it appears, involving a web of corruption and cover ups that go all the way to the top. Despite the many theories, the truth remains elusive. The case is a labyrinth of contradictions, dead ends, and unanswered questions. What really happened to Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree? Who was behind the wheel of that white car? And why were they targeted? These questions haunt us to this day, a reminder of a crime that shocked our nation and left three families searching for answers. The Alcácer murders left a lasting impact on Spain. The case changed how missing persons cases were handled and sparked a national conversation about violence against women. But for the families of Miriam, Antonia, and Desiree, the pain never went away. They continue to fight for justice, hoping that one day the truth will come to light. The case also had a profound effect on the town of Alcácer. Once a quiet, close-knit community, it was now synonymous with tragedy. The girls' faces were everywhere, on posters, in newspapers, and on TV screens. Their story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. In the years since the murders, the case has inspired countless documentaries, books, and even a Netflix series. But for the families, the attention is a double edged sword. While it keeps the memory of their daughters alive, it also forces them to relive the pain of their loss over and over again. They continue to search for answers, determined to find closure in a case that has none. The Alcácer murders remain one of Spain's most infamous unsolved crimes, a story without an ending. But perhaps by keeping their memory alive, we can ensure that their voices are never silenced. Maybe, just maybe one day we'll find the answers we have been searching for. Until then, the mystery of the Alcácer murders will continue to captivate and horrify us, reminding us that devils can lurk in the most unexpected places. If this story gripped you, make sure to give this video a like and share it with others who are fascinated by true crime mysteries. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to light. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Together, let's keep searching for the truth.